Today, we are diving into one of the most fascinating gaps in all of history, the childhood of Jesus. I mean, for nearly 20 years of his early life, the official New Testament gives us just one single story. So let's get into it and unpack what this one pivotal moment really tells us.
So, what do we actually know about his childhood? It's a great question because the answer is, well, surprisingly little. We have these powerful, cherished images of his birth, of course, but right after that, the record goes almost completely silent for years and years.
I mean, we get the highlights of his infancy, right? We know about the trip to Bethlehem, the shepherds showing up, his circumcision, and then his presentation at the temple, where Simeon and Anna say these incredible things about his destiny. But after his family gets back to Nazareth, the detailed story just stops. Get this. These two short sentences from the Gospel of Luke are pretty much all we have to cover almost 2 decades of his life. Just think about that for a second. Everything from when he was a toddler to the start of his public ministry is basically bundled right here. It's no wonder people call these his unknown years. Now look, there are other stories out there. You might have heard of them. They're called apocryphal tales, and they're full of all sorts of things. But they're not part of the official, authoritative record. So for this explainer, we're going to focus on the one story that is included, the single event that finally breaks that long silence.
So, let's talk about being lost in Jerusalem. This is the one story we have. It all happens during a family trip to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. And let me tell you, it's a moment of some serious family drama and profound revelation.
Okay, so here's how it goes down. Jesus is 12 years old, and the family makes their yearly pilgrimage. On the journey home, Mary and Joseph travel for a full day before they realize he's not with their group. They immediately rush back to the city and start this frantic search. It's not until the 3rd day of looking that they finally find him. Can you even imagine the panic? 3 days. For any parent, that is an absolute eternity of fear. They've lost their son, and not just anywhere, but in a massive city, packed with people for a huge festival. The emotional weight of this moment must have been just crushing. And here's where the contrast is just incredible. On one hand, you have his parents, probably beside themselves with worry, and on the other hand, where is he? He's in the temple. He's not lost or scared. He's totally calm, completely engaged, sitting among the teachers, listening and asking them questions. There's this massive disconnect between his parents' crisis and his own serene intellectual focus. So, what does this all mean? That brings us to our next section, the solution within the solution, interpreting the temple scene. Because, as you might have guessed, this story is way more than just a dramatic family incident. Theologians see it as something much, much deeper, a key that helps unlock who Jesus is, even at this young age. Yeah, this is not just a story about a lost kid. The source material describes it as a layered, poignant revelation. The idea here is that this is a carefully constructed scene that's telling us exactly who this boy is and what he came here to do. And here's the crucial point, this kind of glorious irony. His parents find him inside the temple, right? The very building that represented humanity's old solution for connecting with God, a place of altars, complicated sacrifices, and scholars interpreting the law. But sitting right in the middle of that old solution is the new solution, Jesus himself. He isn't just another interpreter of the word, he is the word. This whole event is really a powerful picture of what's known as the incarnation, the central idea that the eternal God actually entered our physical, messy, real world. It's the whole mystery of the Christmas season, right? The divine sharing in our humanity. Okay, so that's the story and its deep theological meaning. But the source material pushes us to go a step further. It asks, how can this ancient narrative actually guide our lives today? Let's talk about from ancient story to modern growth. And that is a great question to ask, isn't it? Especially when we're thinking about our own progress and maybe New Year's resolutions. How can a 2,000-year-old story about a boy in a temple possibly have anything to do with our personal growth right now? Well, let's go back to those summary sentences from Luke. They're not just describing Jesus' past. They can be a model for our present. But think about how he was showing his wisdom, by listening and by asking questions. See, true growth isn't just about having all the answers. It's about staying curious. The real goal is daily progress, to grow stronger, to be filled with a wisdom that listens, and to increase in favor with both God and the people around us. The source uses this incredible metaphor for the incarnation. It calls it the medicine of immortality. So what in the world does that mean? Well, the idea is that because the eternal entered our physical world, our material reality, our daily lives, our work, our bodies, is no longer a barrier separating us from the divine. Instead, it's been transformed into a potential bridge to the divine. And this is where it really gets personal. If the material world can be a bridge, then our own lives can be too. As we grow in wisdom and favor, our lives can start to reflect that divine connection. And in doing that, we actually become a bridge for other people, helping to connect them to something bigger than themselves. So the final takeaway is really this powerful, reflective question. It's not just about your own personal progress this year. It's about how that progress, that growth in strength and wisdom, is going to ripple outwards. How will your journey become a bridge for the people around you?